debt ceiling is a statutory restriction on the amount of national debt a country can carry at any particular moment. One of the effects of increasing debt ceiling is it can help the government to neutralize the current economy. The increase will allow the government to spend an additional 45 billion ringgit on economic help and also stimulus projects. Firstly, in order to redevelop and neutralize the current economy, the government needs to help the businesses because most of the businesses are almost bankrupt due to this pandemic. By increasing the debt ceiling, the government can fund them to make sure they have enough money to continue operating their businesses and getting back their profit. Other than that, the government should help the tourism industry if the debt limit increases because this industry increases economic revenue, provides job opportunities and also improve a country's infrastructure. Next, the economy can neutralize by helping the B40 groups and families that were affected during the COVID-19 pandemic. Increasing the debt limit can help them to survive and bring back the economy because economy cannot be neutralized if there are a group of people who are still left behind. The late Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin has approved a one-time cash compensation of 1 billion to the M40 and also B40 groups as a part of a major 250 billion stimulus program to alleviate the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Lastly, the increases of debt limit can neutralize the economy by using the money for this country's healthcare. It is because this sector is the most important sector during this pandemic. The government should help the healthcare sector by providing them all the needs such as PPE, hospital beds, medicine, medical face masks and also more ventilator for the COVID patients. Other than that, the government should also use the money to give some bonus to frontliners for all the sacrifice that they had made to help the world fight against COVID-19 virus. Our government should do more to appreciate this frontliners' contribution by evaluating their pay and offering greater incentive.
The second impact is that it can increase the government revenue. So due to the pandemic of COVID-19, the government has faced a lag in the government revenue where around 16.9 billion has been cut from the operating expenses. Then in the development expenditure also, it has been cut from 69 billion to 68 billion. So this has shown that there is a short in the government revenue as much of the revenue are being used for the COVID-19 stimulus package. Then, due to the rising number of COVID-19 cases from day to day, it has lowered the domestic demand and also the purchasing power as in the beginning of the pandemic, the citizens are bound to the law that we call as a movement control order, which this law make the demand from the people decrease. So this make the revenue that could be obtained from the tax revenue has also been decreased. This is due to the fact that during the pandemic, many citizens have ended up being unemployed, which this affect their monthly income and also their household spending. So according to the data from the retail sales and also the recreational activities, it has shown that the spending from the consumer are less than usual during the early of the pandemic, but it also still did not achieve the target even when the restriction has been lifted. Okay, so from all the problem, it has shown that the government actually faced a decreasing in the government revenue during the pandemic of COVID-19. So the government has come across to increase the debt limit from the 60% to 65%. So during the bill reading, it has been stated by Tengku Zafrul, the Minister of Finance. He stated that the need to increase the debt limit is to make sure that the government have enough resources and revenue to be used during the pandemic of COVID-19 in the stimulus package and as the economic aid. And then he also add that the increasing of the debt limit will allow the government to supply 45 billion to be spent for the stimulus package and also be used as the economic aid to enhance the COVID-19 fund from 65 billion to 110 billion.
Raising the debt limit may help our country to redevelop, but we also need to be aware of the risk when the change is made. For example, a greater fiscal crisis. The continuous rise of the debt will make the investors lose faith in the government's capacity to repay borrowed funds, so they will demand a higher interest rate on the debt and the rates rise quickly and unexpectedly, which may cause a large economic effect. For example, the increase in interest rate will lower the market value of outstanding government bonds, resulting in losses for investors and possibly triggering a broader financial crisis by causing losses for mutual funds, pension funds, insurance companies, banks, and other holders of government debt, which could be large enough to force some financial institutions to fail. Other than that, when the public debt is too high, the allocation for the country's development, infrastructure, education, and others will be affected, as the budget will be used to pay the outstanding debt. Let's take US for example. We know US is a well-developed country and we might think that they don't face any financial crisis, isn't it? But according to the Congressional Budget Office, they estimated that the expense of paying interest on the nation's debt will be the third largest budgetary item after Social Security and Medicare by 2049, and this will badly affect the people as the private investment will be so low and the government's investment will be crowding out. So do you think a developing country like Malaysia will be able to face this? It is true that Malaysia never went over the debt limit and it is still considered as moderate, but raising the debt limit may gradually stifle our economy.
Okay, so here is one of the negative impact where the additional debt from the increasing debt limit will drive higher tax imposed, which then will result in inflation. So the tax imposed will remain high as the tax revenue will be used to pay out the interest on national debt, which then reduce the revenue that is available to be spent on the operational expenditure and also the government services. This can be seen, for example, in the US due to the higher tax imposed because of the higher debt limit. Many businesses and also companies increase the price of their product and also services due to the tax imposed. So this has made the cost push inflation as the cost of production is high, which then pass towards the consumers. So Tengku Zafrul, the Minister of Finance, has stated about the reintroduction of the consumption tax, which will work like the GST before, as one of the ways to revive the economy after the downfall. So this has shown that when there is increasing in the debt limit, so it will pass down the tax burden for the government to have the tax revenue towards the future generation.
Okay, so as a finance minister, the initiatives that I will take in order to restructure the economy would be redevelop the tourism sector. Okay, so tourism sector is actually a sector where it can gives a lot of contributions and it had been paid many attention by policymakers and also the development experts and even the industry figureheads. Okay, so how redeveloping tourism sector can contribute to the restructuring of economy. Okay, so first, it can boost the economy because it lead to stimulating trade, especially between the tourists and also the local seller. Okay, secondly, it can create a lot of job opportunities, and thirdly, it can lead to the development of the infrastructure. Okay, so the government will need to develop the infrastructure and also the facilities of the country to accommodate the tourists that come to Malaysia and also to give good impression to the tourists that come to Malaysia so that they can come again in the future. So there are many programs and initiatives that a government can use in order to develop the tourism sector. For example, in Malaysia, the government created a Langkawi travel bubble which allow people from all around Malaysia to come to Langkawi, and it successfully attract 90,000 people in the first 27 days. There are also initiatives created by government of Thailand where the government provide $700 million in order to boost the economy of their domestic tourism, and also there are also countries such as Jamaica where they provide online training for 10,000 of their tourism employees so that can enhance their ability. However, there are also countries that have financial constraints in order to implement such measures. So they come out with new measures such as Costa Rica. They change the national holiday to Monday so that people in Costa Rica have a longer weekend and they can spend more on domestic tourism in order to boost the economy.
The second initiative that I would take as finance minister to restructure the economy is by increasing subsidies for small and medium-sized firms. Malaysian SMEs contributed 521.7 billion to the country's GDP in 2018, accounting for 38.3% of overall GDP. On the first movement control order, restaurants, for example, are pleading with the government for various sorts of assistance to help them cope with the current pandemic of COVID-19. They encourage the government to find a way for banks to extend loan moratoriums because many members indicated that interest rates on some of their banks' loans had been increased. As a response, the government has undertaken a range of efforts to help small and medium-sized firms such as subsidies. Subsidy is known as a government-provided benefit to an individual, business or organization. According to Scott, it can support struggling sectors by reducing their burdens, or it can encourage new businesses by providing financial assistance. Apart from that, the government enforced a moratorium on SMEs during the COVID-19 pandemic. Bank Negara Malaysia has authorized all banks to grant an automatic 6-month moratorium on all financing repayments, including credit card balance conversions to term loans and company debt restructuring. Besides that, the government announced new measures including an updated wage assistance scheme to help SMEs, which contributed 10 billion or 0.7% of GDP. To summarize, Malaysian SMEs offer a wide range of economic opportunities and their contributions to the country's GDP should not be overlooked. The next initiative that I would take to restructure the economy if I am a finance minister is early retirement for government employees aged 55 and up should be reintroduced. This is because pensions and gratuities for retirees have increased from 2.7% of operational expenditure in 1977 to 8.7% in 2015. One of the initiatives I will undertake to re-establish early retirement is the development of an early retirement incentive program known as ERIP. Egypt, Canada, Finland, and Denmark have all employed the early retirement incentive program to encourage employees to retire sooner. Early retirement incentive as a type of workforce reduction are used to create immediate and short-run labor cost savings. Some companies, like those in Malaysia, have implemented early retirement plans. An early retirement package is a set of benefits offered by a company to encourage employees to quit their position sooner rather than later. Companies provide early retirement package in order to shift their staff without having to fire anyone. Because the government does not have to spend more on pension payments, which increase each year in line with the retirement age, early retirement package appeared to be one of the government initiatives to restructure the economy. This is because older employees are more expensive than younger employees due to the operation of age or seniority-based payment systems.
Next, the other initiative that I would have taken as a finance minister to restructure the economy is by investing in upskilling and reskilling the workers, especially the fresh graduates who are currently unemployed. According to the McDonald 2021, he stated that upskilling is the process of improving or increasing an employee's skill set in order for them to become more productive member of the team. Continuous learning is frequently included in upskilling and is necessary for a person to develop in their job and take on greater responsibilities. Based on the statistics from the Department of Statistics Malaysia, it shows that the number of graduates who are unemployed is still very high. The number of graduates in Malaysia in 2020 was 5.36 million, up to 4.4% from the previous year, which is 5.1 million persons. In addition, graduates are an important part of every country's workforce, so the problems of unemployment among the graduates should be addressed. There also has been a similar program that has been conducted to tackle the problem of youth unemployment, which is Scheme Latihan Satu Malaysia SL1M. The government has set aside RM40 million for SL1M to stage roadshows starting in 2018. Hence, a program to upskilling and reskilling the workers that is more impactful should be done in order to tackle the problems of graduates' unemployment specifically and to restructure the economy for a better growth and to increase the revenue of the country.